Okay. Hello, Todd.
Hey, hello everyone. How you doing today, Haider?
I'm good. I'm good.
Great. We're really excited to join the group here today at Pharma. And what we wanted to talk a little bit about today is looking at the evolution of patient engagement models and how can we continue to prioritize customer engagement, look at technology and other industries for examples on how to perhaps do this more effectively, and what types of skills, processes, structure, and culture need to be in place for this to be successful. So with that, I'll quick introduce myself. My name is Todd Neville. I've been part of the industry for a little over 31 years, spent time at Merck, Cisco, Salesforce, and I'm currently the worldwide business development leader for life sciences with AWS.
And on my side, Haider Alleg from Firing Pharmaceutical. I'm the global head of digital, and I basically summarize my my work by saying I handle customer experiences when they come to new channels or when they come to use new technologies.
Perfect. So what I was going to do was just kick off with a macro perspective and then allow Haider to do the same. But certainly the expectations around engagement, and whether we refer to them patients or more holistically as customers, the expectations have changed rapidly. Many patients are looking to other experiences that they have outside of interactions with a life sciences company or the healthcare industry in general, and are looking to mirror those types of experience within that environment. And what's really made it different is it's the evolution of the application of technology, but also some differences in terms of those other industries with being in non-regulated environments for the most part, and being able to structure and set themselves up to really create what we refer to as this N of one, a very unique customer experience, so that I as an individual consumer feel like the company is talking to me as a person. And that's really the key and where we're trying to migrate to. There have been a couple things that I'll quickly mention that have driven this change and the need for it. So there's an intense migration towards rare disease areas, as well as large complex biologics that require a different type of patient and journey and level of engagement. And it's really important to continue to look for opportunities outside of the industry, to take a look at what other organizations are doing and perhaps to continue that learning process.
Yeah, I follow you on that, Todd, and I think when I listen to you, I can also add that from a macroscopic angle, this customer or consumer that you were mentioning, they get educated by other industries. So we always say, you know, are you having the Netflix-like experience or the Uber-like experience or Airbnb-like experience? And I think in the industry, we've been trying, but we tend to forget that those people that we are trying to serve, whether they are HCPs or consumers or government officials, they do use those industries elsewhere. So we need, the benchmark is there. I mean, we just need to align. That's on one side. On the other side, there is a huge opportunity. I think you mentioned, you know, chronic diseases, and I think the need for data and the need for having a data-driven organizations is here. When you look at, for example, Germany this year approving reimbursement on medical devices applications, it's clearly a move that the regulators is seeing value. So value-based healthcare, data-driven, with a combination of great customer experiences. This is where the industry should go, and this is where I hope we started stepping into.
Right. Now, those are some really valid points, and would definitely agree with you in terms of looking at those other industries, whether it's a Netflix type of experience, and really positioning patients so that they can engage with an organization at the time they would like to, through the channel that they would like to, and really supporting that massive scale of flexibility. So one of the elements, and you mentioned being a data-driven organization, so the key there can be taking data, which is simply data, converting that to information, which really doesn't give you a lot of insights, but migrating towards business insights and ultimately intelligence. And how can that add or augment what you do to create that journey that is far more sophisticated. One other advance that I've seen a lot of other organizations employ is behavioral scientists. So in addition to that journey, the application of technology, what that patient pathway might typically look like, it's what are the behaviors associated with individual patients or specific cohorts that might prompt them to stop being adherent or not have an optimal engagement with an organization. So when you brought up data, when you look at the industry in aggregate, more specific to life sciences, how do you manage that in the context of regulations with PHI, HIPAA, GDPR, et cetera?
It's a good point, because usually when you think of innovation and data follow quickly, right? You want to identify business models. Even if this is just a project, you want to bring a positive business case, and immediately data comes into play. And you look into tech companies and you look at how they do, how do they manage data? Because it's very much cultural driven. If you are a drug maker and your focus is really to serve, the business with the best pipeline, the best discoveries, the best manufacturing process, yes, you are looking into data, but not in the same sense than a tech company will do, thinking small first, scaling fast. And when it comes to GDPR, honestly, for us, at least for my company, it was a good wake-up call to say, you know what, this is, first of all, an opportunity to collect consent on whether or not we do the right thing with our customers. So that is, I think, a positive thing. And second, it was a good reality check saying, are we the best in class to manage data? Are we a tech company, or can we partner with an ecosystem of tech players out there that are doing this for a living? They proved the model of handling data every day, and it is sustainable. Maybe it's a better play to go seek those partners, whether they are big tech company like Amazon, or whether they are an ecosystem of startups. So we choose to do just that, identifying this ecosystem outside and bring them closer to us.
Right. No, great points. And there are really two different approaches that you can take, or I guess three, with a blended model. But try to go it alone and develop your own infrastructure and types of people that you believe can bring that enablement. But that partnership model makes a lot of sense, because it does allow you to integrate and interact with a lot of different organizations, some of which have very niche capabilities, other of which have broader capabilities. And I think importantly, it's got the proof points that these types of initiatives actually have value and they've worked. And then how can you retrofit that back into the environment to create that complete story?
Yeah.
So one of the things I know you and I had an opportunity to chat prior to doing this particular session is, how do you get this done in an organization? So typically the organizations in the industry have been characterized as fast followers. It's very difficult to go first. And in terms of bending that curve, from your perspective, what have you seen as indicators or elements of success that need to be in place to lend itself to improvements in the engagements?
Yeah, I'd like to say, that people are the problems usually when it comes to bringing something new to an organization. But fortunately, people are also the solution. So it's you don't have a magic bullet as a technology that comes in and suddenly changing things. So there is different layers. First of all, of course, you find the usual suspect that top management needs to be in line, but not just in line in terms of saying this in a town hall. Creating the framework and the environment so that it is safe to fail, safe to embrace new thing, and potentially sometimes you have to cut some project out of a division or franchise, and to protect that project to fail, politically speaking. So those leaders needs to create a condition for thinking a bit out of the box. Then in the middle management layer, it's very much process based. So you don't want to blame someone, you want to blame a process. So as an example, I always say a project that you can't kill is a project that is bound to fail. So either the project is scalable, can continue, or needs to be killed. And in those middle layers, you have to have this hygiene of running this by a process. So you can blame the process, you can adapt the process country by country or division by division. And then lastly, you have the people. And the way you're structuring your people, either it is a two pizza model like I know you guys are doing in your organization, or whether you are doing it by task force or by a little island of production that will be connected, or molecular models, whatever the agile model you're looking at, they need training. You need also to create a sense of a sense of ownership and accountability, so that this innovation can flourish. And I think this is how you can start moving a little bit the needle of people waking up and looking at things saying, oh, we can do that. Yes, I can actually find someone that can help me doing that. And if I can't, I will fail and I learn and I'll share my learning with the others. So that will be my, let's say, 3 tiers of activities with a bunch of tips within every layers.
Right. No, agree with you wholeheartedly. You need to have that leadership fortitude in place along with a comprehensive strategy, but that's clearly not enough. It has to be lived every day. You have to enable the organization and the people to function in that environment. And a few things that I've seen that I think have been particularly useful is the approaches can sometimes be disparate, whether it's across therapeutic areas, within different functional areas of the organization. When you look at operations, when you look at brand marketing, when you look at sales approaches, contact centers, it can be pretty divided, and each of those groups working independently. And I think a model with governance applied to it can be really helpful in terms of having that incorporated in an area of innovation, where there can be a quick, nimble, agile decision-making body where proposals are put forward. They're given very short timelines, given the appropriate funding to run, say, a 60-day testing period, and then make that very quick go, no-go decision. And if the decision is we're going to kill this project, then what do we learn from it? How do we modify our approach moving forward, so that we can be more successful?
And this is something that you can learn coming from the startup nation world or the big tech company. Sometimes it's preferable to go sit on the back row of a startup and see it failing, so that you learn from their mistakes at scale and in 3 months, rather than trying for 2 years to develop a patient support program. And I think those strategies of really opening the doors to those new, it's a different mindset, right? To accept to invest in a company knowing that there will be a high risk of failure, and valuing still that investment. That is a real shift of culture. And I think this is what it is required if we really want to do like the fintech industry did, when they shifted to 12 or 15 years ago. You've seen bank going hard on like being an observer seat member in a board of a startup. And I think this is where our industry is at now. Like some of us pharma are looking at this in this angle now.
Great. I think we have a couple minutes left, so I thought I would just make a few closing comments and then turn it over to you for your final thoughts. But I think we covered a lot of ground here in a very short period of time. And it's not to say that this journey is easy, but having those elements in place can certainly increase the likelihood for success. One concept that we use at AWS when working with customers that I think can be helpful in establishing the appropriate mindset is this concept of a two-way door and a one-way door. And two-way doors we characterize with customers as those are decisions where you can walk through the door, and if it doesn't work out, you can come back through the door, and nothing's gained, nothing's lost, and hopefully some key learnings. A one-way door would have bigger implications, and if you make that decision and you go through that door, there's no turning back. So that can be a set of principles that can serve as, guardrails on that journey to, again, create that unique individualized experience so that I feel like the company is interacting with me as an individual.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that picture. And because it's bringing us to risk takers, right? So are you a risk taker, and how risky can you be? And I would say, to conclude on this conversation, I would say that I'd like to go back on the customer experience topic, because this is where it should start. If you're really obsessed of bringing the best customer experience with the best product, service, content, information, whatever the realm of value you're proposing, then this should be also the guiding rail of what your decision should be aiming at. So if you really want to have a customer that is obsessed with your brand or obsessed with your product, then you have to understand, first of all, what your customer wants. And sometimes your customer just don't want, they don't know what they want, right? So that you need to really be anticipating those shifts. This is where observing the rest of the industry is important. And two, I would say, if you think of bringing new services to the business for that customer experience to be really, really great, being open at partnering with other people, and that will bring you to maybe shift the way you measure success and you define success, and bringing those KPIs internally. And that is very much different from launching a project. You might say, we launched it at this date, that is successful, or no, we managed to reach 1 million people in 10 days and 20% engagement. And that is really where you see there were like a positive traction with recurrent, adherence on your product. That is a cultural shift. When you start looking more into that external impact, you start to be much more comfortable at opening your eyes with external partner on that customer experience.
Excellent. Well, I think we're out of time here, unfortunately. I know we could talk about this topic and
Of course.
Really go on for hours. And it would be great to have interaction and answer questions and engage people that way. But it's an ongoing dialogue that'll be important for the industry. And it's been wonderful partnering with you. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the conference.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Todd. Take care.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye. Cool. Okay. So